special occasion pork roast is a great thing for any good home cook to have in their back pocket, or front pocket for that matter.
And this is a doozy. It's tender and juicy, and we're gonna play on that fun combination of pork and apples. That is a classic. So to start, you have to choose the right cut of pork, and the pork shoulder is where it's at, also known as the Boston butt. And today we're using a 5 to 6 pounder, and it's got the bone in, because that bone adds serious flavor. All right, so notice we have a good fat cap on this, and this has been trimmed to about 1/4 of an inch. Do a slight crosshatch in the fat cap. I'm gonna make these slashes about 1 inch apart. So there we have it. And now we're gonna coat this with a combination of 1/4 cup of salt and 1/4 cup of brown sugar. I'm just gonna really rub it into the pork roast on all sides. And this does a few things. One, it obviously adds some good flavor, but two, it'll help draw out some of the moisture in the pork, but then that pork will reabsorb the moisture with the salt and sugar, so it'll help flavor it. We're gonna let this sit in the refrigerator for 18 to 24 hours. So we're gonna wrap the pork in plastic wrap, because it'll help keep that salt and sugar mixture on. Here is a pork that's been sitting for at least 18 hours with that salt and sugar rub. And before we brown this guy up in the pot, you want to make sure to brush off any extra salt or sugar that's hanging out.
So some of that sugar and salt has been absorbed into the meat, but the rest, you gotta get rid of it.
All right, that looks pretty good. Last but not least, we're gonna season this guy with a little bit of pepper, top and bottom, and a little on the sides, a little on the back side, a little on that side. This is ready to get seared. There's 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil in this pot. It's been heating up over medium-high heat. You want to sear this on all sides, and it's about 3 minutes a side, 6 sides, a little less than 20 minutes.
Okay.
All right, so while this guy is searing, we'll keep an eye on it. We're gonna prep just a few ingredients to help flavor the sauce. We haven't talked much about the sauce.
You've never mentioned it.
No, we're gonna do cider. I mentioned apples, and so cider really pairs nicely with the pork. So we're gonna make a cider sauce. Now to bring that cider over to the savory side, we're gonna add some basic aromatics like an onion.
All right.
So here, I'm just gonna take this nice big yellow onion. I'm gonna slice it into nice thin slices. So now we're gonna add a little bit of garlic, and this is 6 cloves of garlic. I'm just gonna smash them with a knife. You can even do it with the skins on, and the skins just fall right off. So that's all the garlic. Put that back in the bowl. And let's go take a look at our pork roast. Oh, it smells good. Doesn't it smell kind of bacony?
Yes, it does.
Oh, all right. Now, sometimes this guy's a little slippery, so using 2 tongs is good. So we're gonna continue to brown all the sides, and that'll take about 15 more minutes. As you can see, we've continued to brown this roast on all sides.
It's even more bacony.
It is. There's a little bit of browning in the bottom of the pot. That's good. So in go the onions, and I'm just gonna sprinkle them around the pork, right into all that fat in the bottom of the pot. We're gonna add 6 cloves of garlic. Oh, I know. I know, that pork fat smells really good with the onions and garlic. And I'm just gonna stir these until they soften, and that takes about 2 minutes. Doesn't that just smell amazing? You can see how nice and golden they've gotten from the sugar and a little bit of that pork fat. That's gonna make that sauce taste amazing. And speaking of sauce, we're gonna add 1 3/4 cups apple cider. This is the base for the entire sauce. Oh yeah. And to help bring out those flavors, we're gonna add a cinnamon stick, because of course, apples and cinnamon go together. And to help with the savory edge, we're gonna add about 6 sprigs of thyme. I'm just gonna add them to different parts of the pot, and 2 bay leaves. All right, so it's simmering now. We're just gonna put the lid on this. We're gonna cook it in a 275-degree oven. That low, slow heat will make the pork so tender and juicy. It's gonna take about 2.5 hours. And we're looking for an internal temperature of 190. Oh, I can smell it from here. You ready?
Yes.
Yeah, you smell the pork, you smell the cider, you smell the herbs and the cinnamon. All right, now it's time to temp it, because it's been in there for about 2.5 hours. Again, we're looking for a temperature of about 190. There we are. So if you wouldn't mind snugging that board up, again, the 2-tong system. Oh, hello.
All right, I'll see you later.
Yeah, I don't blame you. We have to let this rest for at least 30 minutes before we slice into it. Let those muscles relax and let them reabsorb some of their moisture. We're gonna tent it with foil to keep it warm and to keep Bridget away from it. Now in this pot is an amazing amount of flavor and an amazing amount of fat. So we're gonna keep the flavor, lose the fat so we don't have a greasy sauce. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna strain it to get rid of those solids. That's the onion and all the herbs and the garlic. I'm gonna put this liquid into a fat separator. It'll make it much easier for us to get rid of all the fat so we have a nice smooth sauce without being too greasy. And then just before serving, we're gonna whip together a quick sauce. Still there?
Still there.
All right, so we're gonna finish the sauce and we're gonna add even more apple flavor by adding apples.
Who'da thunk it?
So we're gonna add 2 Braeburn apples because they're good and sweet and they hold their shape. I'm gonna cut this apple into 8 even wedges. You could use John of Gold if you couldn't find Braeburns. And you know, we tried adding apples to this dish in a lot of ways. We put them in the pot, we let them braise, we put them in the beginning, we add them halfway through, but really they just disintegrated alongside the pork. We found it best to just brown them a little bit right before serving. All right, so into a bowl, again, this is 2 apples. I'm gonna season them with a little salt and pepper. All right, so we're gonna brown these apples in the pot, and guess what I'm gonna use for the fat?
Let's hope pork fat.
You know it. All right, so you can see this liquid has been sitting here for a while. I know, look at that pure pork fat on top. I'm gonna take about 1.5 tablespoons of the pure, clear pork fat right off the top. So I'm gonna heat this fat up over medium-high heat. All right, so that fat's been heating up for a couple minutes and it's starting to shimmer.
Sure
so
is.
It's time to add our apples. And I'm just gonna arrange them so that they're cut side down. We're gonna brown both cut sides. And
Okay.
that's a couple minutes per side.
Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous.
All right, so I turn the heat off and I'm gonna take them out of the pan. I love how the skins also sort of lighten in color and the red parts get nice and rosy.
Blushy.
Oh, And if you wouldn't mind tenting these with foil, that just will help keep them nice and warm. On to the last and best part of this recipe, the sauce. And here I'm just gonna take some paper towels and just wipe off any gunky bits left
Right.
over. So here we have the braising liquid that's been sitting and defatting. You can see that liquid gold on the top.
Oh, yes.
So I'm just gonna put this right on top of a liquid measuring cup. We're looking for about 2 cups of defatted juice. All right, there we go. I'm gonna add this right back to the pan. And you know, we wanted to obviously thicken this up into a nice sauce. And one of our ideas to lend it more apple flavor was to use apple butter. 1/4 cup. It's gonna give it a really nice appley flavor. I'm gonna put this over a high heat and bring it to a boil.
Look at the change in color in there. Oh, so good.
Oh, smell that.
Very appley between the caramelized apples, the apples you browned in there, the apple cider, now apple butter. I'm apple happy.
You can see it's coming to a simmer and it's time to add our thickener, which is cornstarch. And whenever you use cornstarch, you want to mix it with a little liquid first. That's a tablespoon of cornstarch into a 1/4 cup of more cider. And then we're going to whisk this into the simmering sauce. And presto changeo, this becomes a thickened sauce. So I'm going to turn the heat off. I'm going to finish this with just a little kick of vinegar. This is a tablespoon of cider vinegar. Again, that just gives the sauce a little bit of punch. And of course, pinch of salt, pinch of pepper. All right, so I'm gonna put this off the heat, and now it's time to dive into our pork roast. There's this bone here, and you see it's sort of this T-shaped bone, and we wanna get that out. And this is where you wanna take a knife, either a paring knife or a sharp boning knife. I'm gonna hold the bone with one hand and just try to slice the meat away.
It's a cursive T-shaped bone.
It is, it's a funky shaped bone. Now I'm just gonna slice the rest of this pork into about 1/2-inch thick slices. Oh, hello.
Juicy. Oh, my goodness.
I have to say, I love the little shreddy bits that fall off the top and the
Yes.
bottom as you slice.
Oh,
I'm gonna give you a nice, big, thick slice and a few apples.
thank you.
Last but not least, our sauce.
So not least. Okay, come on. Look at this. It's falling off my fork. It's so tender. It's falling off my fork and into my mouth. There is bacon present, even though you did not put it in the pot.
Nope.
I would swear that it has that kind of salty, smoky, sultry bacon flavor.
Well, and the sauce is the perfect marriage of cider and pork.
Yes, and really the perfect texture. Just that little bit of cornstarch and the apple butter too. Great amount of thickening. This is bar none my favorite pork roast, especially with apples. Cheers, Julian. That was absolutely amazing.
Isn't it good?
So if you'd like to make a tender and juicy cider-braised pork roast at home, well, you've got to start with a bone-in pork shoulder and dry rub it all over with salt and brown sugar and let that seasoning penetrate the meat overnight. Next, brown the roast and add some aromatics, onions and garlic, before slow braising it all in an apple cider broth until the meat is fall apart tender. Then sear some Braeburn apples in the flavorful pork fat and combine the braising liquid, apple butter, and apple cider, plus a little cornstarch, for a most delectable sauce filled with apple flavor. And there you have it, from Cook's Country, a special occasion, fit for a special friend, cider-braised pork roast. Thanks for watching Cook's Country from America's Test Kitchen. So what'd you think?
Leave a comment and let us know which recipes you're excited to make, or just say hi.
Now you can find links to today's recipes and reviews in the video description.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
See you later.
Alligator.